All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Builders Call. For those of you that might be jumping on for the first time, this call happens the first and third Tuesdays of the month. And this is a conversation that is designed for anyone wanting to grow and build an organization within EXP, learn best practices around doing that, collaborate. It could be your first day in EXP and you have no agents in your organization. You could be in a due diligence process wanting to know how do you guys do this and what does it exactly look like? Or you could have hundreds or thousands of agents in your organization and come to collaborate and learn and share just about what's going on in real time. So I know we've got people with, oh my goodness, I think the least amount of experience in the room is maybe 10 to 15 years in the industry. And Brad, who is calling in from Florida, a former independent that came over last year after being independent for over 15 years. So cool. We got some great people in the room. And Amber is a leader in the Central Coast area. Brooke's out in Florida, neighbors with Brad. And Cheryl's in Utah. So funny enough, she was just at the NSA speakers event and ran into Rural Workman and sent a picture from there. So our little real estate community is connected regardless of location, clearly based on relationships. So
Awesome.
super excited to have Don and Allison on the call today. I want to jump right in and just say when I was a brand new agent, licensed, that I started my career with Keller Williams, and one of the first things that I was at was family reunion, and there was this company called Hobbs Herder. There was a marketing company. Little did I know, fast forward all these years, here we are in a totally different context and a totally different relationship. So, Don, I'm super excited to have you on the call today. And as in
Thank you.
anything in life, partnerships are everything. And I didn't know you then, Allison, and I wouldn't know you, I'm sure, without Don. So I'm super excited to have you both on the call today and learn from you and be in a conversation around what you've learned. And I know you're both here in the spirit of contribution and being willing to share. So for those of you that might be meeting Don and Allison, for the first time. In my frame of reference, they're a power couple. Bottom line, they have complementary strengths. And the thing that they have in common is they have a heart to serve and impact. And they demonstrate that in their own unique ways and they live it and breathe it. So, my perspective of leadership is that if somebody was never able to open their mouth and you were able to follow them around and observe what they were doing each day and be able to create an amazing results and impact, that's true leadership. And my experience of Don and Allison is that they're people that
Thank you.
preach only that which they practice, and they're incredible examples. Everyone got your bios before jumping onto this call today because we promoted it. So they know a little bit about the fact that you're both over 20 years in the industry and have really interesting paths that have led you to where you're at today. I'm really excited to jump in and dive into our conversation. But before we do that and to kind of get us set up, for people that may be in this conversation or coming into this conversation on the recording that are meeting you for the first time, I'd love to hear from each of you based on everything that's brought you in your journey about where you're at to today. Uh, what it is that you are each most excited about or most energized about as you look at today moving forward through the lens of all of the experience that you've had that's led you to today. So I'd love to start off with that from each of you before we jump into our actual topic for today. So which one would like to go first? Is
Well,
this a ladies
ladies
first or is
first.
this
Yeah, for sure.
a
Ladies first.
The powerhouse lady.
Thank you so much for having us. This is really, really awesome. It's wonderful to share. And we just came off of our build event here locally in Dallas. When Casey said, what would we share? We really are focused on our ground game, and we think it's important. I joined EXP 11 years ago as agent 641, so it's almost my 12th year anniversary. So I've learned from the best. When you talk about Brent, I mean, he was the founder, well, not the founder of the ground game, but they really built everything they built from Roseville, California. And if you don't know that, it's important to us. So I started in Austin, we moved to Puerto Rico, and I'm only telling you about our moving journey because we've been back in Dallas for 2 years. And we're hosting a mastermind and a happy hour every month. And that's what I'm most excited about, just being able to connect with and plug into the agents in our group as we kind of reset and build our ground game. And what brought me here is the freedom of building residual income. going through a 2008 crash and, other trials that we all face in our life. And I could tell you when COVID came around, knowing that I had, that we had built this residual income was huge. So, those are the things that are most exciting to me, is just to have a local team to pour into.
I love that. I love that. Thank you
Yeah,
for
and I
sharing.
think we feel super blessed. I mean, fortunate to have been, Allison making the decision so early on helped. When I then got over here in 2018, to me, it was a company that had never been built before. And I am still as excited about that part because it feels like we're always leading the edge. And now we've got, Casey, I know you know him. If you haven't met Leo Pareja, he's just a tremendous leader. And I love the way we're showing up in the world these days. And I love the fact that we get to be part of that. But I think for us, or at least for me, speaking from my side, I always love pouring into people. It is a great opportunity. I used to train everybody else's everybody. I used to train everybody else's agents. And now we get to impact our own as well as everybody else's agents. It's a great way of, pouring into people and having, as Jim Rohn used to say, to attract other people, you have to be attractive. And it's a great way to attract people. It's a great way to pour into people. And I love the training we get to do. I love the things that we speak on. And of course, personal branding and marketing. Casey, as you know, is kind of a forte for me, or kind of a thing that turns me on. I still get energized by that and the things that we do for people. Still, we're delivering tremendous marketing campaigns and things that people can really grow their businesses with. And this ground game thing, if we could do it all over again, if at least I'll speak for me, if I could do it all over again, when we were in Austin, Texas, I would have blown that area up. I would have built a big market there. And we didn't. We went, gosh, I know people all over the country, Casey, because I met people like you in trainings and seminars, and we went everywhere. We started picking off one and one and one and one and one and one and one, and never built power centers. And I think it was a mistake for us. And with this decision to move back to Dallas with 50,000 realtors, there's a bit of an opportunity to say, good God, why don't we just build something? Yeah, just a little one. Why don't we build something here and have hundreds of people here that are in our office, that are in our close in proximity. We get to be at happy hour tomorrow night with them, and we get to be at workshops with them, and we get to do things. So that's kind of our latest, greatest, coolest, funnest thing.
I love that. In the direct sales industry, there's a tagline. It is build local, grow global, which is the concept that you're talking about. And
Yeah.
in having a hub of people where everything starts, and then as that spreads, eventually it goes on its own as that continues to kind of replicate and scale. So
Where were
I'm
you? Where were you with that line when we were blowing in 2018?
Right.
Well, I think it's a great, I think it speaks to the power of when we have opportunities to get in rooms together. And do we get in those rooms and do we get in those conversations? Because I know I have so much to learn from everyone, right? And
Yes.
there's the times where our paths cross. Of course, nothing's random. And then there's times where we intentionally create time and space to come together like this, which I'm looking forward to having the opportunity to return any contribution into your community as well at whatever point you'd like that, because I really
Thank
believe
you.
that we all have so much to learn from each other and to contribute, because our experiences have been so individual. So I don't normally do this. However, it's been a while since I've had a couple that works together. And I think it's such an amazing thing to have couples in business. So I'm going to ask you each before we jump into the conversation. And Dawn, you're going to go first on this one.
I'm scared.
If you, well, here's my experience, right? I was in this conversation recently with someone, and it was like around this whole idea of, your avatar of who you want to be in business with, or for somebody that's single and not partnered and wanting to be in a relationship. Okay, like what does that avatar look like? And people will create these lists of traits and characteristics, and they're basically traits and characteristics that they're describing themselves because those are the things that are important to them, and that's what they want. And then if you have two people that are exactly the same, one becomes irrelevant. You don't need both of them because they're the same. So people that end up in relationship partnerships that then end up doing business together, in my experience, have complementary gifts and skill sets that when they come together, the two, 1 + 1 = 3. the collective influence of that. So Don, from your perspective, and then Allison, you're going to get this same question. So it might be challenging to stay present while listening to what Don says. However, I know you can do it. So Don, from your perspective, based on what you know of Allison, what would you say are the strengths that are uniquely hers that she brings to your partnership that are not the strengths that you have that would be like, this is Allison, this is what she brings to our community and to our partnership. That could be relationally and for your organization.
Yep. Yeah. Allison's very unique in that she has the ability to lead from the heart. Like when she talks to people, she can go deep fast. She can get to who they really are and speak to that. And she's got this other side, which is the tech that whether it comes naturally, and she can feed into this, but she says it doesn't come naturally. But for what I know, she made a comment one day and she said, I'm the person that everybody in my family goes to when their computer doesn't work, their phone doesn't work, something doesn't work, they can't figure shit out. This is where they're going to go. And she's just got that ability, and she's leading the charge right now. Honestly, people are doing some pretty cool things with AI. I think what she's doing with AI is pretty remarkable. And I think that she's got the ability to play both the heart side and this system side, the structure and the systems part of business, which I'm more the entrepreneur. That's devastating sometimes. It's like I have this great idea, but then you got to put it into action. You got to put it in form. You got to put it into, you know, you got to create it, make it. And she's super good at that part. And so I think that there's that. But I think the main thing is she led with heart from day one, and people love being around her, and she has a great persona with people.
I love that. There's an image that came to my mind as you were talking about her and that getting straight to the heart, and it was a hot knife through butter. Like right in. And then the integrator that brings everything to life. Those are my two images as you were talking that came up in my mind. I
But
love that.
and she's a great innovator as well. She's a big thinker. That's one of her great things is her vision is big. So that also helps a lot.
I love that. Okay, Allison, from your perspective,
Oh
Don,
gosh.
yes. What are Don's strengths that he brings to your partnership that make you guys who you are?
Well, thanks, babe, first of all, for commenting on me. I gosh, it's a little bit of what you said about me, but it's different. Don's ability to coach and help people, to connect with them just consistently and also deeply, but really just a drive and a passion. I mean, when he wakes up every day, sometimes I'll have a vision of we want to do this. You can clearly see that what drives him every single day, what motivates him, is helping agents grow their businesses and help in developing them personally as well. Because I know that with some of his coaching clients, he gets into. I mean, as a coach, you would, right? He just and his passion for that. Of course, personal branding. He's the first person that will catch on to someone's name. We've got a girl who's joining us with the last name Cash, and we just found out yesterday. He's like, "Oh my God, it's such a great marketing name." Right. And so just building tools and always kind of seeing that is amazing. And his ability to speak, honestly, oh my gosh, that's his happy place. You think he seems happy and helpful and whatever he vibes like right now, put that guy on stage. He should just live up there. He should just go and live because he's a whole nother Don. He won't look like that to you guys, but I'm like, oh my gosh, you should just put him up there. So, speaking in front of, speaking to people with his heart, moving people and really, staying connected, staying consistent and never really wavering from that is that's him.
I love it. And I can speak to that because I saw Dawn on stage. It was 2021 when we were in, was it Grapevine, Texas? That year Tony, that Brent brought Tony Robbins in and Dawn because you had a history and had worked with him. Uh, yeah. And I was like, oh, Dawn is like owning the entire stage. That was a very large stage. So yes, I can totally second that experience for being authentic about who Dawn is.
Thank you.
I love that. So here you are in partnership. And we're going to pivot now into this conversation around building your ground team. So neither of you are new to the real estate industry. Everyone that, the commonality that everyone that's on this call has is that we see the vehicle of EXP as being a vehicle, and it's a transformation vehicle in so many ways. And you both know, based on your experience around personal development and coaching and real estate, is that people will never grow businesses or organizations outside of the level that they've grown themselves personally. And yet everyone's got a different point A that they come into or that they're at right now, right? Like I'm at a point A 10 years in. You're at a new point A, building this ground team and focusing on the country of Texas. And I say country of Texas because I've driven through it. It took a couple of days, but you know, so
2 days
we
later, you're still in. Yeah.
exactly. I was like, wait a minute. It's getting bigger. The further we drive, the bigger it gets.
Uh-huh.
So, but here we are in this conversation around building your ground team. So that could be for somebody brand new building an organization and what are they going to do right out of the gates? And it can also be like this, a restart of the next layer of growth and development, which is where, in the context that
Yeah.
you guys are talking about and doing what's happening. So, where would you like to start this conversation around the topic of building a ground team and what that really means to you and how it's a living, actual organism, so to speak?
Yeah. I mean, babe, do you want to start something and kind of give your perspective on it, or do you want me to start? Because I've got all kinds of thoughts about this.
Go for it. Sounds like I go for
So,
it.
so I think, I love your perspective on that, Casey, because it could be a restart like we're restarting. I think we're in a place that a lot of people could probably relate to. It's easy when you look at other people and we compare ourselves to other people and we look at a Brent Gove or we look at somebody big, and I'm sure everybody here's got different exposures to different people. But when you look at these big players, Gene Frederick's got thousands of agents and Brent Gove has got thousands of agents. They're all over the globe. And that's awesome. And I know people that are actually targeting international growth, and that's fantastic. But I still think there's something that comes back to, can I build that power place, that growth? And I'm old enough, and some of you won't relate to this, but there's a game that we used to play called Risk, and it was armies attacking armies. And it's like if you got too dispersed quickly, you were getting beat every place and you were no longer, and you were out of the game. And if you kept your armies in one place, I was like, God, that's the model for this thing that we're doing, this ground game. So for me, it came down to, again, part of it was we moved back to 50,000 agents. So, but mostly it's the awareness that I want to build around people that we can be around and influence more often. Like when I only talk to people once a month or once every other month or once every few months because they're not really engaged in all the things, it's hard to keep that connection. And I believe that people join people, they don't join companies. And if they disconnect from people, they disconnect from the whole thing. So if we don't keep in relationship with people, they're at risk. And we've watched that happen. I mean, I'm sad to say we've lost people that I wish we hadn't lost. But I think that this allows us to really go in and start to build. And it allows me to know people. And, you met me, Count Casey, way back, Hobbs. So we were doing large scale seminars. People come to the programs. If we saw them again and again and again and again, and we could really work with them individually. Most often we saw them once a year and they'd come back and report into us. So we didn't have a real connection to them. There was nothing we could really do. They were doing what they did on their own. And when we're around people on a more frequent basis, I feel like we can pour into people and help them where they are right now. Like I can really help people. And instead of building somebody else's company, we get to build our own. And so from that standpoint, the ground game thing just made sense. I don't know why I woke up one day and I was like, damn it. Brent Gove told us this years ago, and we just didn't pay attention. And so for me, it was like, hey, we're here, 50,000 people. I don't know a lot of people, but I know how to find people. I know how to meet people. I know how to get to people. We can talk about that separate subject, but that's what occurred to me. Like we're here, opportunity is everywhere, and we can build something substantial right here. So I'll stop there for a second and let Allison come in, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
I second that. I think that one thing that I realized from what Brent said in coming back and planning the events and seeing the connection to people, and even Casey, when you said then it kind of grows I think it grows outside of you. They would call that their air game. And what I really realized is one, I'm getting back into production because there's so much that's changed. There's a bit of leadership there, right? I'm not looking to sell 500 houses, and I'm looking to continue to innovate and have, systems and sell to attract, right? I think that that's really important, and you never really get out of it. When we started and we were in such a hyper growth phase of this company, right? I just kind of fell out of production. It wasn't really intentional, and then our move kind of took us there. So I think that really being that leader and even around our mastermind, seeing people in the room and understanding the presence of us being here as the leaders, but then really what that means later on is as we grow from those people, I look at how, we're talking about Brent's group, but if you guys know Charlotte, Brent's organization grew big in Charlotte, right? There's one leader there, and then they grow from there. And that leader, grows leaders around them. So I guess really I'm kind of digging a little bit deeper into the concept of this because I think it's really important for everybody to, I guess, see that. At least I think it's important. It was definitely an aha that we picked up along the way, and how important it is to just, create that community, and plug into people and just really come from, place wanting to help them grow their business. And the ability to do that is it's really impactful. We've seen a lot of growth from that. And yeah, build. I was going to go into build and just watching that happen, but I'll stop and yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's something important in it. To be able to fast forward like 1, 3, 5 years from now, right? If I draw on my own personal experience and I think about, the days, the years before EXP, right? So I came out of the direct sales industry. Real estate was the entry with Rick, and then I came out of production in 2009, and the next 13 years, literally every month for 13 years, with the exception of 1 month, I was in Provo, Utah for training where we would fly in and our leaders would fly in and new guests would fly in. And what
Wow.
happened I mean, 13 years straight, I didn't miss 1 month, right? But I have God kids that have come from those relationships. Some of my best friends, like we're in life together for life now. And that time and experience of being belly to belly with people and being on life journeys and business journeys where you have FaceTime that happens over a period of time, there is something that is impenetrable when it comes to the depth of relationships that get built and the impact that happens within people that choose into that, right? So it's a little bit different context because the ground game in that context was everybody coming in, choosing to come in together at least that once a month where we would be together, right?
Right.
And for the building the ground game, we're talking about physically boots on the ground in the context of EXP. However, what I want to reiterate is how powerful it is to execute in that way because of what happens. And loyalty, loyalty cannot be bought, and loyalty cannot be bought, right? So when you develop and you invest in people, will people still come and go? Yes, for sure. But the right people come and the right people stay. And the people that aren't the right people in the long term go, and that's okay. So what I love about what you're both doing, because I know and have seen this executed at a really high level, is over time, what you end up with is a quality of human that you look around and you go, if I was to go out and handpick from humanity, like how, and all of these people are my circle and they're here, right? That's what you're building, and it doesn't get built any other way other than being physically present with people. A Zoom's not going to do it. I love that we can connect from all over the place on Zoom, but the belly to belly of what happens when people are together over a period of time growing is priceless. Really, really priceless. From yes, the business will happen, the
Yeah.
relationships and everything else that happens as a result too. There's something that you both said also that I think was an interesting concept, and that is this idea of time in relation to what other people built during the same time. I see Gap and Gain sitting on the back behind you, Don. And so, I tell this story often is that Brent came into EXP in 2016, and then Rick and I came in January of 2017. And there was really less than a 90-day window of start time between when Brent started and Rick started. And you fast forward and look at today, and Brent's organization is 18,000 plus, and Rick and I are, a few thousand, right? And so someone, depending on if they're measuring in the gap or the gain, could go, what is missing from that. And I think it's such a great learning experience to go, nothing's missing from that. There's two different visions with two different intentions and two different execution plans. Rick's was very much around speaking, training, coaching, being a top producing agent, and running a team in the marketplace, with an organization being a piece of that conversation. And
Yeah.
Brent's very clearly was laser focused, like, the only example in my mind is crude, so I'm not going to say that. Not appropriate for the call, but like Brent's was laser focused um,
Laser focused.
on like the one thing, which is his vision that came to life, right? And
Right.
so
Yeah.
at any point in time, any of us can create anything in the next window of time based on where our vision and our energies are, which is why I love this conversation that we're in around building the ground team, because of sorts, you're doing something for the first time, almost 10 years later, that
Hmm.
is, we know what will come from it as you do it. And now you'll be able to have an experience that will be a new experience for you to speak to moving forward, which is amazing. Because that's
It
how we keep
is.
growing, right?
That, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
I
I think the
think that
laser
also,
focus. Oh,
go ahead,
you.
babe. No, 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 you.
What came up for me is successful people say no to almost everything. And I can tell you that with the land of opportunity, when you grow, that just came to mind. And I think that it's important, having that laser vision. And, and I think about Brent and what he wanted to do. And that also required him, I'm imagining, I haven't asked him this personal question, what did you say no to? But I'm sure a lot. So that was one thing. The other thing about the vibration of, I guess I was thinking vibration of the room, right? Or just being here. And so the build event example, I'll give you, we've got a guy in our group, Robert, who I don't even know. He gave us like stats through KW. Let's put it this way. The guy doesn't miss an event, especially a local event that he lives in that big. Well, he had a wedding the same weekend of build and he was bummed. I mean, this guy never misses events. And I told him, I said, I got your people, like just send them, like really, really, I mean, he was like thinking through it. So anyway, I had two in particular. I'm running around the room, like making friends, trying to figure out who two of these people are. One I had met, and just the result of that, again, being here, because I don't think the conversation wouldn't have happened, and then just being here. The event happened not just because of us, we're part of the planning committee, but it was being here and being connected to him that allowed me to help him connect with the guy that is joining us now, right? That was ranting and raving about, just connecting with us and being in the room and all of that. So I guess I'm kind of just the importance of that, and then that community just kind of coming to you and being able to just be present in that space is really cool.
And that's huge, right? Because as a leader, you, Allison, and you, Don, you're always going to be in those rooms. So when we think about people that want to grow and build an organization, sometimes people are in the conversation, well, am I going to go to the event? Um, or yeah, I'm going to go, but I haven't booked yet. And then, life happens or something happens or somebody's, got a vacation, something, right? And then when you think about being focused on the vision that you have and what you're going to build, to be able to, for your organization to know, it's like, it's not a question of if Don and Allison are going to be there. Don and Allison are going to be there. So come, don't come, get us in front of your people. We're there. That is a totally different energy to lead and influence and build from. And as your
Yeah.
community knows that, it's like, okay, well, maybe they're understand the value of never miss an event, never go alone. Maybe they don't have that understanding yet, but when they know that part of their community, and that's the beautiful thing about what we do, it's never about one person, right? And when we have the trust of someone to open up their network and their relationships and go, okay, well, I'm not going to be there, but I know who Don and Allison are as leaders and as part of our support team in our community, and they're going to be there, and you've got to get there with them, and then knowing like that you're going to treat them as if they're your own relationship, your own your own person that's coming to that event and having that experience. Um, that is that is how things happen and grow in a really big way, right? And then it's also that demonstration of leadership for people to be able to go, okay, wait a minute. You never know what it's like until you're the person that's actually in the experience, right? So we can watch people from the outside. Nobody knows what it's like to be Brent unless or until you've done what Brent's done. And if
Yeah.
people knew that, probably a lot of them wouldn't be willing to pay the prices that he's paid to do that, right? Because we see the fruits of the labor, but nobody sees the prices that have been paid in the background, except for maybe his family that lives with him and gets to experience it in the daily living of what that build has looked like, right? And so I think
Yeah.
sometimes there can be this disconnect and disillusionment of like, here's what we want to create, here's what's possible to create. We see all of these things being created and then backing up a few steps to go, okay, what is it going to call forth for me as a leader? And how am I going to play every day in that role and be in that role to create, my version of that? And so I love what you said about that, Allison, because I think it's really important.
Hey, Casey, can I speak to a couple things that you just said? First of all, I want to go back because you said something about you went to Provo, Utah in your other business. You went to Provo, Utah every year except 1 month, right? And so you're speaking to the fact that we need to be at events. We need to be in those places, right? It speaks to that. And I didn't want anybody to miss that because you're interviewing us, but it's like there's a hint, clue, clue, clue. It's like being around the right people. And as Ron used to say all the time is, you become the people that you're around. And if you're going to get in the big rooms and you're going to become bigger, if you're going to not get in those rooms or play in small rooms, because I don't play in big rooms because that's not who I am. I've never thought of myself that way. Then you're gonna end up with that, and which also then speaks to the second thought, which is there's such a huge identity to growing this business. You have to have self esteem, self identity. There has to be an identity that I can lead, that that I want to lead, that I want to pour into people, that I want to give, that I want to. There's got to be a part of that. Otherwise, you know, we don't think in terms of other people unless we have the ability to do that. And I think the limiting beliefs that we grow up with, the who we are acting like versus the who we really are, the who we're acting like may be smaller than what we really could be. And that's where I think, and Allison speaks to self-love and these things, which are all part of that conversation, probably more than we have time for today, but maybe not. Um, but I think there's something to be said for who do you think you really are? And, you know, Casey, you may have heard me end a talk where I ended with, yes, our deepest fear, the poem, our deepest fear, that's not a poem, but the writing, our deepest fear. And we play small compared to who we really are. And we think small compared to what's possible. And so when we open that possibility box up and go, wow, there's just so much more to do. I think that's part of it is who we saw ourselves as and even how I saw myself as a speaker, but not a recruiter or not a company owner. Like there's parts of it that I'm sure held me back if I'm analyzing, if I'm just speaking the truth of it. I wanted to be the speaker, not to be that person that was out there recruiting. And yet we did it. We've done okay. We've done, pretty darn well. But if I want to compare myself, there's a place I can knock myself to from here to the other side of the earth, with like, oh, just didn't do enough, didn't play big enough, didn't do. So if I were assessing, I'd say to somebody, really look at who you're becoming and what you really want to build, not what comes naturally or how you're thinking through the filter of who you're being now. Like what's possible. I look at Casey and what you and Rick built, and I say, wow, there's a possibility. I look at what Brent does and go, there's a possibility. I'm not creating all of that yet, but there's the possibility. It's way bigger than where I am right now. And the fact that there is somebody that's proven it makes it possible. I'm
Yeah, I
not
love
looking to
that.
do something impossible. I'm looking to do something that's totally possible. Others have done. Lots of people have done it,
And
right?
the interesting thing about what you're saying, Dawn, is that to me and what I've experienced is it takes way more energy to stay in the versions of ourselves that we are today than it does, and hold ourselves in a space that we know, then the amount of energy that it takes. I think sometimes people think, oh my gosh, if I'm going to build something that's more responsibility, I'm taking on more things, it's more, 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 more. We talk ourselves out of a larger vision or something more expansive that we want to create because of what it's going to require of us to become or lead or do. And in my experience, what I've actually seen happen for people is like when you forget about all of that, like take the you part out of it and be the most loving, giving, generous, authentic version of you and create a space for people to come and grow. It takes a lot less energy to actually grow something because of how people are drawn to wanting to be in that energy, in that similar, zone and space. And then it becomes so, it's like a fingerprint, right? I always say, like, you'll have influence with the people that you can influence, which are not the same people as me. Like, I'm repellent to people, and then I'm attractive to others. And that's true for all of us. There's people we repel, there's people we attract. And so, who do we want to attract? Well, the ones we're going to attract is when we're being our most authentic for who we are, which is probably who we want to be aligned with, anyways, right? I don't want to be aligned with people that are repelled by me because we're probably not going to enjoy space together, right? That's not going to be fun for anybody.
Funny.
Allison,
Casey,
you look
thanks
like
for
you haven't
inviting
thought
us
about
today
that.
so we could thanks for inviting us today so we could learn from you because you're always such a bright light. We really love
I,
you.
I, I, I have no idea what the book is about. And if you guys know Gene Frederick, he basically rarely, unless it's on the golf course, every once in a while, I'll say a curse word. But when we were first started building, he pulled out a book. And I think the book actually has an X, but it says assholes or something about that. And it's about not attracting or not connecting, right? Like the
Yeah.
community. And so I kind of always see it in my room. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, what in the world? Yeah,
No
that's
assholes
interesting.
allowed.
No,
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. The book that's the name of the book. You should look up. But yeah, um, I had a thought that I really do want to share is, Don, you were talking about your light and just being, stepping into your bigness or understanding a vision. And what I've seen the most, and I did it. I'm kind of taking it back to the basics, to the beginning, because I think a lot of people don't attract to EXP now because they feel like they don't have the answers. And I have a lot of answers within the company, but that's because I had no choice but to introduce people to. I mean, I remember there's a guy named Sam that I was on the phone with all the time, right? He was the one that told anybody I introduced to him to help build, right? He was talking to. And at one point, then Don says, how's Sam doing? I said, I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a while. And he goes, you are the Sam. So I guess my whole point is there's a little bit of that. And I came up with a word about that, which is be the smartest dumb person in the world. And Casey, you know this from your network marketing. My big aha was it's that third party validation. You don't even have to know anything. And even if you do, the smartest dumb person in the world is the person that knows everything. But I'm going to act like I don't know anything because I want to introduce Casey, my senior partner, right, to the person and not know everything. So she can then, so the point is just having that vision and letting other leaders around you. It's on the job training, just being able to love people up and then just say, I have such great leaders that can help you with your business. I think that's just something to never forget. I think in stepping into that vision, not worrying that you don't have all the answers is just, it can be such a barrier. And it's because it's hard. It's hard. You're afraid you're going to look stupid in front of someone if they ask you too many questions, if you open the question up, but it's okay to just not know. I don't know if that kind of flows in the same conversation we were having, but
Yeah,
I knew
totally.
you, yeah.
Yeah, totally does.
You know, sorry, I'm sure you have a question or a thing you were going to go to. I want to just say one thing to what you said earlier because it's really important. I'm sitting in a room many times. I remember being in the Venetian Hotel. There's 1,800 people in the room, and we've got all these people that are, graduates of our programs and using our stuff. And I'm standing up going, "This is the best move I ever made and changed my life," and blah blah blah. The next one gets up and says, "It changed my life. This is amazing stuff." And somebody gets up and goes, "Well, I don't know if I'd want to work as hard as some of these people because they're doing 30, 40, 50 million dollars, 60 million, 80 million. And I wouldn't want to work that hard." And the assumption, of course, was there was something related to how many hours they worked or how hard they worked. And I would say basically what you said, and I want to make this point for everybody, is that, if you really ask them, I think they've got more vitality, more life, more spare time than you have because you're working so damn hard to survive. and they're at a level where they get to bring other people into their world. They get to, have leverage. They get to buy leverage. Money gives you some possibilities, right? And I would just say to people, don't limit yourself by what you think is the limitation of being bigger. Dive in and find out, or talk to a whole bunch of people that are in that place. Don't look and assume. Get in and ask for help, because I haven't found anybody in this company that doesn't say, I'll help you. I did find one girl who was not really that kind, but that was one person.
Is she still with
I
us?
was surprised actually. She said, I'm on vacation. I'm not really able to help you. And I'm like, okay,
Oh my gosh.
but that was like one person in 10 years.
That's amazing.
That's really funny.
It is. Okay, so let's talk. We've got about 15 minutes before the top of the hour. And so we've talked a lot about the why. And my mind is such like for people that get on my calls or that share space with me, they know my mind is very 5-year-old-ish. I'm like, why, what, how? Why, what, how? Right? So we've talked a lot of like, okay, we've talked a lot about why. We've talked a little bit about the what's and hows. And I know for a lot of people, they're like, give me a plan to execute. Tell me exactly what to do. I mean, I think about this. My second month, it was January of 2008. I'll remember it as for forever, because the person that had this conversation with me, I'm now a godmother to two of his quadruplets. And but at the time, he was just a guy that was a senior business partner. And he said, what's your goal? And I told him my goal was, I said my goal is Team Elite, which was like the top of the comp plan. He's like, great, I'll see you next month at Team Elite University. I was like, I was at Team Elite University last month. I got it. I learned it. I'm good. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, what's your goal? And I go, my goal is Team Elite. And he's like, Team Elites go to Team Elite University. So do you want to change your goal or what you're willing to do?
Boom.
And in that moment, I felt really mad, like I wanted to throat punch him because I felt like he was taking my dream away. But what he was actually doing was he was making what I wanted to create in reality what it was going to take to create it. And then I got to decide if I was going to be willing to pay that price and do the work. So, it was 13 years in every month, right? Every month in Utah, which was not like going to Jamaica. It's Utah. Beautiful, sometimes, depending on the time of the year. I mean, but it's like, anyways. But there was a very clear track and path of what to do, and then I got to decide if I was going to do it or not. So you are in this season of creating your ground team, and you have a very clear vision, and I'm confident you have a very clear execution on what that looks like. So if someone wanted to go, this is what I'm going to build my ground team. I'm new and this makes sense and I'm going to do this, or I've been here for 9 years and I've never done this and I'm going to start and I'm going to do it today. What is the what and the how piece of it? Because I think we've talked really fully about, the whys and the value of the whys and all of the learning, through
Yep.
the experience of the years of that. So let's talk brass tacks around execution so that when people leave the call today, it's like if they were going to go do this and replicate it, what would that look like?
Don, you want me
Yeah.
to start, or you want
So two things I would say is face to face, belly to belly. How do you meet people? You got to go meet people. You have to figure out how to get into business conversations with people. And the easiest way for me is number two, which is events. And so I always think in terms of events. It's almost like a plague actually, because Allison's like, we don't need one more event. But I'm starting to realize too that there's already events, whether we put them on or not. We're doing an event in 2 weeks that's on niche marketing, niches to riches, and I'll be the primary speaker and one of the organizers, and we'll have other people in there. And it's at the big board office, and we can put 250 people in there, and I expect that we'll fill at least 150 to 200 seats, and we'll have a bunch of those, right? So that's easy. But we're doing a happy hour tomorrow night, and we're inviting people. So there's a social aspect, and then we're doing a mastermind. And one of the things we came up with, Casey, and Alice and I talked about this right off the bat when we came to the conclusion that the ground game was going to be it, is let's run local masterminds. I was saying sales meeting, and Allison really had the wisdom to say, no, they don't need a sales meeting, like a mastermind. Let's get them into action and get them to learn something. And people love that environment. And so we have on the first Wednesday of the month, we have a happy hour. On the fourth Wednesday of the month, we have a mastermind, and it's a lunch. And in both cases, it's all paid for. We haven't paid a dime out of our pocket. So listen, guys, it's something anybody can do. Costs you nothing. We brought in lender, we brought in title, we brought in all the people. They want to support this. They want to be part of a group. They want to meet realtors. What do they do every day? Try and meet realtors. We've got them. We're bringing them. We're inviting them. And by the way, so are they inviting them. Right? So let's build events together. And then, and that mastermind is typically an hour, and we have one of our people teach something or lead a discussion on, teach something, and then mastermind around it. And maybe you can go deeper on any of that you want to go. And then the other thing is, I'm committed to meeting a lot of people here. So I attend every real producer meeting that I can get my invitation to. I'm driving from pickleball, Allen, Texas. We live in Frisco. I drive the 20 minutes back home from Lifetime Fitness. Open house, open house, open house. I'm sweaty, I'm stinky. Who cares? I walk in and meet the people. I grab business cards. I call them later. I mean, like, there's some easy things that anybody can do. And if, by the way, not our events, there's events at our local association. There's events that are put on at XYZ title company. There's events put on by mortgage companies. I got an invitation to go to a top golf event by put on by a lender. I said, can I bring people? I made calls and brought people. He's paying the bill. Top golf. Who didn't want to go to Top Golf? It's fun. So when I think of that, I'm always thinking in terms of how do I get people into something? You know, we had the soccer thing, and I invited people to the local sports bar because we were going to watch the semifinals. And we watched it together, and we had a great time. So I'm thinking that way. It doesn't have to always be like a really important event, but I know Casey and you know, Allison says this all the time. Big decisions are made at big events. So big events are great, no doubt. But if you can't get to a big event, create small events.
Love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the one. How I mean, Don, I'll reiterate it. I guess kind of from my perspective, and I think as you were talking, one of the things with our monthly event is that we started that you know, with a couple leaders in the Dallas area because we wanted to have a place we could bring other people in, not just ourselves, and pour into the agents in the community. And it's not just our organization. It's actually I don't know, there's probably 4 or 5 organizations. And so we all get together every single Friday and plan the next month's event. So we do them once a month. It used to be called IRL, which was in real life, which is kind of coming out of COVID, right? Let's get together in real life. Now it's called the Production Summit because IRL didn't mean anything to anyone. But that started with just one event, right? But if you think about going, you know, if you don't have an event in your area to plug into and you want to start an event, when we talk about we didn't pay for it, I can promise you, especially with the way business is right now, you have one title rep and the title company has a conference room, right? You could bring 5 people and they could buy lunch. That's so basic, right? But you're starting that relationship and you do that once a month and you have this mastermind, you just give it a thought and you tell other people. And what's interesting, it's just like you do that or a lunch and learn. The point is that there's almost nobody going to be there the first time, right? And then people will trickle in. I think it's your level of belief that you're going to be there, but them believing you're going to be there, even though you say every month you're going to be there, right? It does take a little bit of time to grow, and then people start expecting you to be there. And that's what really starts to build the community, and just knowing that you can. You don't have to wait to have a big leader or someone else. You could just do it by yourself with 3 realtors you know in the area, and then ask for the support of like I said, other vendor partners. So I wanted to kind of bring it back down. That's the how, is either plugging into finding the events that you love, making it part of your routine and your schedule. And that's what Don just said. I mean, we know exactly when those are. Put the calendar on your wall of events. It's really helpful. I always had it in the computer, but on the wall is very good. So hopefully that answers your what and how.
Yeah, I love
And
that.
Casey, I know we're running out of time, but I would also say one thing for everybody. Don't be attached to whether they come or don't come. The invitation is the I thought of you, I care. Whether they come or don't come, that's their business. That you thought of them and invited them, that's your role and responsibility. So just invite, 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 invite. Text, call, text, call. Come up with a standard thing, cut and paste, change the name, cut and paste, and away you go. Build something.
We had two people in our first one. That's us and me and Don and Nicole. And then we had
Just
like now, and
just
then
two.
we packed the whole room, and then we need a bigger room. So just so you know, that's how the first one went too.
Mhm.
I love that because nobody would expect that, right?
Right.
So that's the real world experience. So when it happens, nothing's wrong. It's like, oh yeah, that's how it goes. And then we keep going. And then this is what happens when we keep going, right?
Yeah.
We had
Mhm.
food for 15, two people in the room. It was embarrassing. And Jim Rohn used to say, two people deserve just as much as you were going to give to 15 or 20 or 50 or
It
500 or
was great.
5,000.
Hmm.
Tell the story.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep, because it's the who gets in the room, right? So,
Yep.
here's what I would love to hear from each of you, because you both have such a different lens of experience, is what you've learned, because I know you have a significant organization. I mean, you have the size of an organization that a lot of people would dream of having, within EXP. And so we can look at it, in relation to people that have larger organizations or smaller organizations, and that doesn't matter because you have an organization that a lot of people would, that would be freedom for life for the majority of, anyone, right? So everything that you've learned on your journey that has spanned 10 going on 10 plus years now, what would you say the most significant thing is from a takeaway perspective that you've learned in your experience of building that, knowing what you know now today, if tomorrow were to be your day one, what would be different, if anything?
Allison, you want to jump in or you want go for it?
I think ground game and events, yes. Also, just allowing people, there's a lot of different ways that people have said it. Um, Rob Flick, if you need more milk, get more cows. It took me a long time to understand what that means. Right? You love that, right? I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, you can fertilize them, you can change the grass. Anyway, the very first thing, I mean, this is back, right? Interestingly enough, I think that just letting people that you're talking to, if they join someone else, it doesn't really matter because they're aligning with people. So you just kind of keep going. And I think between that and really the ground game and just plugging in the ground game, don't try to overcomplicate. Um, I think those are all things that I've slightly said, but you said if I started from day one, what would I want to
Yeah.
know right then? And it's all that I'm trying to say, right? That I have learned over the time, because this is it's a journey of it totally is a journey of leadership. And I got to see, I'm just learning to understand people around you, what they need, plugging into what they need and just stay true to what's important to those around you. I think that's what I would say.
Yeah, so like a really narrow focus and one specific thing that you're focused on, and then go do that
Yep.
well. That's what I'm hearing you
Yep.
say. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah, and I know we're short. I'm looking at the time and I want to make sure we get everybody out of here. But I would say the ground game was clearly an aha. I was on stage at Build 3 days ago and somebody asked me that if you were started working. I said, ground game is maybe it's just because it's my current awareness, but that would be one thing. Second thing I would say is uh, I let my ego, my ego um, keep me from moving into a yes no situation with people. So I pour into them, pour into them, pour into them, and almost want them to impale themselves on the hook instead of actually saying, hey, by the way, I'd love to be in business with you, or I want you here, or let me introduce you to some other people. Like I'll educate them to death instead of inviting them, and I still can do that. there's still a part of me which is like, I want you to be at the event. I want you to be at the event. I want you to be at the event. Come to the event. And they're like, wow, it's amazing the things you bring me to. And I'm like, I'll pull the trigger. And sometimes I let the friend zone keep me from the closing that.
So the next level of the invite, we got them to the event. Now let's
Second
invite
level
them
invite.
into
Yep.
the
Good,
actual
Don.
Invite
thing.
into my world. Yep.
Yeah. You have access. Now let's have it mean something for you. Yeah, I
Yep.
love that. I think
Yeah.
that's I think that is like can be so true for all of us when it's our relationship. In a third party context, like a validation call, it's like, well, it's not my relationship. So yeah, I'm gonna ask you. Of course I'm gonna ask you. And you say, no, I don't care. But for those relationships we invest in, sometimes we do care. And so it's like we wait for them to and then sometimes they're just waiting for it to be asked and go, well, yeah, that sounds great. What does that look like? Right?
Well, how do I know? Because they left and went, they came and joined the company through somebody else. How do I know?
There you
Yeah.
go.
There's that.
There's that. Well, I want to thank you both. I know we got a great message in the chat thanking you as well. I appreciate your time, your energy, your heart, your willingness to share your knowledge and experience. And what I really, really appreciate is I think the most successful people are willing to be beginners at any stage. And not that you're a beginner, however, you're beginning a new chapter. And the ground game is the being a beginner in your context and your execution of the next chapter for you. And so kudos to you. That to me is like the most inspiring leadership of all. So I appreciate you both. And the recording will be up. Empire Builders Pro on the resources tab under the builders call. It'll be up. You can catch it there. And thank you for who you are and for your contribution today.
Love you, Casey. Thank you so
Love
much
you.
for having us be here.
Thank you
Yeah, love you
too.
guys too. Bye.
See y'all. Bye.